live the scene of a horrific fatality.
A pair of thieves bashed in her front door and started stealing stuff.
Protesters gathering outside.
Hard to believe it's Winter Weather Awareness Week this week.
We started asking questions.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 8 of Working Behind the Screens podcast. I am Nate Harrington. We've got a very special episode for you. Matt Galka joining us today. That's not why it's special though, Matt.
No, I'm not the reason it's special, but we have a special guest. Obviously, another week of big news around the country. One of the biggest stories this week were the protest/riot that broke out at the University of California, Berkeley, where students were protesting a alt-right speaker, Milo Yiannopoulos. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name.
Close enough for government work.
I'm not a reader, but we have one of the preeminent voices of the free speech movement, Professor John Searle, who basically started the free speech movement at Berkeley in the 50s and 60s. Make no mistake, he is not for what Milo was saying, but his thoughts on free speech are very interesting. I mean, he's not for what Milo was saying, but he believes he should have had the right to say it. Very good combo we had with him.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great conversation we recorded earlier today, and you'll hear part of that coming up in just a few minutes. But there is news all around the country going on. We don't want to make this all about the politics of the day. We want to make this about what's going on in your neck of the woods, possibly. And if you live in Punxsutawney, yesterday, the big day, Matt, my favorite day of the year, because I'm a meteorologist. You know what?
Yeah.
It's Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day. Yeah, America's favorite meteorologist came out of his rat hole that he lives in, to do what you do every day, but better, and that's predict the weather.
With more publicity, he gets more eyeballs on him for one day of the year. I do all year, and he's not really doing too well. If he was a baseball player, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. But if he's a if he's a weather forecaster, he would most likely be unemployed. 39%, Matt, over the last 100-something years. Same groundhog, but I guess they passed the groundhog seer of seers label to one special one every so often. But not doing too well, old Punxsutawney Phil, in the grand scheme of things. But we bring this up because, number one, the coverage on groundhog.org, the official website for Groundhog Day, you should go watch the coverage. The live stream is obviously over, but the coverage from yesterday on groundhog.org was fantastic. You can find the link on behindthescreenspodcast.com, by the way. And they make a whole festival out of this. This is not just one day. This is a whole week-long event for folks in Punxsutawney. It's been going on for 131 years. And what came out of it was, obviously, in this climate of everyone's got an opinion, folks gave their opinion about Punxsutawney Phil. Matt, did you see anything that caught your eye, possibly on Twitter or social media, about Mr. Groundhog?
Yeah, I think a few people are like me, where one, we don't trust a rodent to give our forecast. We don't. I don't. Look, I'm all for festivals, all for them. I am pro-festival. I will be pro-festival until the day I die. And this is great for the town. I just have never cared about, because here's a news flash, and that's a good thing because I'm a reporter. The groundhog doesn't know what a shadow is. Doesn't know. Has no idea what a shadow is. Doesn't know if he sees it. It's all made up. This is nothing. And to say there's 6 more weeks of winter to do with Punxsutawney Phil, and I don't care. I just don't care about Groundhog Day.
So the deal is, if he sees a shadow, there's supposed to be 6 more weeks of winter. Okay. So I got a tweet. I posted, obviously, it was my obligation to post something, moral obligation to post something about Punxsutawney Phil. I got this following response. I think Pennsylvania needs to rethink how they introduce Punxsutawney Phil. Always cast shadows. Now,
are they wrong? Are they wrong, Nate?
They're not wrong. I don't know if I was being trolled or the alternative. which alternative fact, which would be this person just thinks that it's a legit deal.
This person's on the next level. You know, you should do a forecast completely serious one day where you say, "Well, gonna have good weather this weekend because I saw my shadow." Back to you.
I wish I could say it hasn't been done before, because it definitely has been. And also, the problem when you get anything happy-go-lucky on Twitter is people turn it to politicize an agenda. There are several tweets about Punxsutawney Phil and Trump and climate change and all of it, and it really, I mean, it's unbelievable, Matt. If you Google Punxsutawney Phil and climate change, have yourself a ball looking at those tweets. It's unbelievable.
I
know you won't, but
I
know you won't.
Do you think that has anything to do with his awful prediction percentage?
You know, it might. He just hasn't bought into the climate change narrative just yet, and the evidence. But one of the headlines I saw was, I can't remember who posted it, but it was one of the more ridiculous ones I saw. Punxsutawney Phil, the reason why we should believe climate scientists. And you know, I wanted to click on it, and then again I thought this article might be too dumb for me to read, so I'm not going to even bother. So they turned my favorite holiday, Groundhog Day, into that.
For those of you who didn't know, did he see his shadow or not, Nate?
He did. He forecasted 6 more weeks of winter. Now, I will point out this. A lot of other places around the country have their own rodent that gives them the forecast. Your neck of the woods, buddy, Staten Island Chuck. Yeah. And here where I'm at, Birmingham Bill. They also gave weather predictions, yes. Yeah, Birmingham Zoo. Shout out there. Birmingham Bill actually did not see his shadow, so he's going to forecast an early spring.
Wow.
And if you've been in the deep south for the last couple months or so, you've known that we've seen spring and almost summer already in January. So it's he's not really going out on a too short of a limb there.
It's 77 degrees here in North Florida today. So yeah. Okay. Well, so 6 more weeks of winter for you guys buried under snow, which you're really not. It's been a pretty mild winter around the country. It's not like, you know, I mean, just judging from my parents back home in the Northeast, it's been kind of mild, you know, snow here and there.
Yeah, it has been all across the country. But we're not going to get into weather. I know you don't like Groundhog Day, so noted.
Until next year, till we meet again. Nate, this is my favorite story of the week.
It is. You've been wanting to talk about this for basically all week long.
Absolute favorite story of the week. In Newark, New Jersey, and look, people are going to get on me for this because it's not as funny as I make it out to be. But it's not. In Newark, New Jersey, in the middle of Mass, at a church in Newark, middle of Mass, Bishop Manuel Cruz was leading prayers when a dude just walks up and punches him in the face. And it's on camera, and I should be laughing. He gave an interview. I mean, it's not like he didn't give an interview. He's okay. He's recovering. He gives an interview to CBS New York the next day. But this video, and I'm gonna play it over us now so everybody can get the full effect, and you could also see it at the website behindthescreenspodcast.com. The guy, first of all, the guy is dressed as fly as can be.
He's in a red suit.
No,
a white suit or something. I can't remember what it is now.
He's got a fedora on and he's wearing sunglasses, and he just comes up and he punches the guy in the face. Now, I don't know if the crowd was kind of stunned, silent, or what, but nobody's really like moving. You know, it's just like, oh, boom, look at, and I don't know. This is my favorite story, one of my favorite videos I've ever seen in my life. Obviously, the guy's okay. I wouldn't be laughing if the guy wasn't okay. The other guy was obviously arrested, and it just, you know, the guy goes on to say, one of the parishioners, it was a very shocking, horrific moment. As a former altar boy, a lot of people thought, oh, he might be part of Mass, but I myself thought it was a little odd out of the gate. Then when he walked up and hit the man in the face, people were shocked. I just thought it was a little odd, this guy in the fedora is walking up to the bishop, but whatever, 2017. Oh my God. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever seen.
It's the video. You have to see the video, and we're playing it now. Hopefully, everyone is seeing it. But it's an unbelievable thing because you just don't. Number one, it's not very often that you get a rolling, person with their iPhone sitting there recording mass.
Right.
Number one,
right.
Number two, you don't really hear about too many of these kind of incidents, especially in the Catholic Church, because there's so much room. I'm not Catholic myself, but I've been to Catholic churches. There's so much room between the parishioners sitting and the altar. There's a wide gap.
Right. Yeah.
For someone to have stopped them.
This isn't like Cameron Indoor Stadium where the fans are right on the corner. The bishop is not right on the parishioners here. There's enough room to see what's going on. Oh, we thought he was part of mass. Oh yeah, the guy in shades. We thought he was part of mass. Never seen it before, but whatever.
I do like the reporting, the crack reporting from the CBS local there in New York. They during the report they stated that the man that perpetrated the incident may suffer from mental illness. Shocking, I know, for everybody involved that this man might suffer from mental illness, but hopefully he gets the help he needs, and the bishop gets a little ice pack for his swollen lip.
The bishop's fine. He got 30 stitches, and I
he was
don't
good.
laugh about it. And people are probably going to say I'm going straight to hell, but I'm not. I hope. But I don't know. You watch the video and tell me you can't laugh, even after he's okay. Come on now. If that happened to me, I would laugh.
Yeah. Well, I'll come punch you in the face and see how it feels.
Right.
Let's talk about our last story. And it's funny that this is a story because it's not local to the U.S. and really, it's not really local to any place that has a TV camera. There was a Swiss Air flight going from Zurich to L.A. They had to make an emergency landing on a very remote, snowy Canadian island. Okay, I can't even pronounce the name of this island. And if you see the video is also on our website, behindthescreenspodcast.com. Check it out. This guy, I don't know where, obviously somebody that worked at the airport, this very tiny little airport on this remote island, got his iPhone out and started rolling. And you see this humongous jumbo jet, the Swiss Air jet that's built for transatlantic flight, pulling into this tiny little airport. The conditions that surrounded this, they had an engine that blew out. So they're down one engine. They got to make an emergency landing. And it's the middle of winter in Canada. It's cold and it's snowy.
It's crazy, right?
They're sitting on the runway trying to decide what to do for 12 hours where temperatures outside are 18 degrees below zero. The mayor of the town, the little island, offers to give them a tour of the island. I guess Swiss Air respectfully refused that. But the conditions behind this, all of this working, I've never seen something like this where you have to make an emergency landing on such a tiny little speck on the map. It's amazing.
First off, I'm just going to say, I don't love air travel for a lot of reasons.
No.
Nothing to ever keep me off a flight, but I don't love air travel. I mean, everybody's in a bad mood. Everybody's like messing with your stuff in the overhead bins. The seats are cramped. To have an engine blowout is like, I don't know. I feel like I'd die. I feel like I'd literally die in my seat just thinking we're going down. But so they land on this island and it's got to be like climate controlled inside the plane, right? They're negative 18 outside.
Yeah, I mean, it's climate controlled inside, but there's only so much you can do. There was in the story that is linked on our website, there was a guy that had Wi-Fi that was kind of live tweeting, I guess, or live streaming what was going on inside the plane. And he seemed to be comfortable, but still, it's just, it's kind of freaky to think about and look out your window and you see, the tundra.
You're gonna think
sitting
I'm
there for 12 hours.
You're going to think I'm crazy. Sitting on a plane for 12 hours, I'd rather go into negative 18. I'd rather go into negative 18. Look, people on planes smell, for one thing. I'm probably one of them. Sitting there for 12 hours, in the middle seat, especially, nobody wants to sit in the middle seat,
No.
Nobody wants to sit next to me. I'm big and burly. Like, I would get out. And I would, stretch my legs a little bit, sample the local fare. I would take it.
The delicious halibut you had to catch by yourself in the
and a bear in the stream. I would have taken the tour, and I would have gotten off that plane as fast as I could. Sitting on a plane for 12 hours, I would rather go walking around -18 degree weather.
Well, even if they wanted to, I don't even think that they would have been allowed to. But playing devil's advocate here, but I appreciate your willingness to go out and explore the remote wilderness of Canada.
Nate, planes suck. Planes are so bad, Nate.
I know they're bad, but I'm talking. It's such a stark contrast, man. You gotta self-preservation. If you don't have a coat, once you walk outside,
I got a winter cap. I got a peak.
You got a toboggan?
I have tennis rackets that I'll use like snowshoes, like Bugs Bunny in the old cartoons. I am well prepared to land in a -18 degree tundra.
So prepared, and you take those with you everywhere you go. So it's just you're immaculately prepared.
You never know when Punxsutawney Phil's going to see his shadow, and I got 6 more weeks of winter I got to deal with. So that's.
You just brought it full circle, my friend. If you've got a great story for us to feature, drop us a line. Go on behindthescreenspodcast.com. You can get to us from there. All of our social media is also listed on behindthescreenspodcast.com. Podcasts drop mainly every week.
Yeah.
Depending on our schedules, and we like to have a new one up every week, and we love ideas. So please send us your ideas or guest suggestions. We love those as well.
And we'll try to get away from the protests. We don't want just to make this about the protests and Trump and all that. It's just been dominating the news cycle for the past couple of weeks. But without further ado, that'll bring us to our guest, Professor John Searle from UC Berkeley, the site of some major protests and riots this past week. Enjoy. We're not going to take up too much of your time here, Professor. I guess my first question would be, were you on campus when this protest started from the other day? Or I guess...
No, I was not on campus, but there was very good live television coverage, so I saw a lot of it. Local television stations covered it extensively, maybe too extensively, because it's pretty clear some of the people are acting for the camera. But I saw it on television.
And so what I guess what's kind of going through your head when you're seeing it unfolding on television?
Okay. The single most ominous feature was that the actual instigators were not students, but there was a group of more or less professionally trained people in black, all in black, with faces covered in black, so you couldn't photograph their faces. And they were the ones who were engaging in the most violent behavior. They were picking up the metal railings and throwing them through the glass window of the student union. So the whole thing was, in fact, run by, apparently, about 100 trained professional rioters. And who the hell are these guys? Now, I've talked to some reporters who studied this in other cases. They said the same sort of people were present in the, what was it called? The Occupy movement. And also they were present in the Black Lives Matter movement. So I want to know, who are these guys and who are they working for? Because some people just say, well, they're local anarchist groups. But that's the single most ominous thing, and I've not seen that actually covered in the press. Now, we have an odd feature. This was another thing. The police were careful and not at all attempting to physically restrain the demonstrators. And as far as I know, nobody was arrested. And in a way, that's too bad. I wish some of these guys in the black outfits had been arrested. So that's the one I saw that I didn't read about in the newspapers.
Professor, we spoke with a freelance journalist who covered the the inauguration a couple of weeks ago. She said she saw the same exact folks dressed in black from head to toe with a black mask to cover their faces at the inauguration that were causing the most disruption, that were being violent. So I think this might not be just a local group of anarchists. This might be a nationwide or maybe even a worldwide, some sort of network of people that do this.
About it, because without them, there's no violence. They're the people that promote the violence and the damage. And I'd like to know who are
A big
they.
proponent of, and you always have been. You've been a big proponent of peaceful protest, and you actually denounce the folks that do this. Is that do you believe that that's a form of free speech, being violent, or do you feel that is totally not in the?
As far as I can tell, there were Berkeley students who wished to protest against this radical right-wing guy. I forget his name, but anyway, it doesn't matter. They wanted to protest against it. This was a peaceful protest. And on the other hand, the guy was supposed to give a speech, and there was an audience ready for him to give a speech. The normal development of events was prevented by about 100 violent activists who came in and deliberately introduced an element of violence. And it's because of the level of violence that the police recommended to the chancellor that they cancel the speech. So free speech was violated, no question. But it was not violated by either students and faculty, or for that matter, by the Trump supporters. It was violated by this gang who came in.
So you believe that this Milo Yiannopoulos, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, he should have been allowed to speak?
Of course. I mean, the point is, if you don't believe in free speech for monstrous, outrageous, disgusting views, you don't believe in free speech. I mean, you have to allow all kinds of disgusting speeches to be given. And there's a bad pun that Americans typically make. They think, well, if you have a right to do it, then it must be the right thing to do. But that doesn't follow. I mean, you have a right to make all sorts of speeches that are stupid, vulgar, offensive, and disgusting. And that's apparently what this guy was. So, of course, you have to guarantee the guy's right to free speech. But, of course, that doesn't mean what he's saying is a right thing to say, or that he gave a correct speech at all. His speech can be just awful, but he still has a right not to be interfered with.
Is there a line between free speech and hate speech?
I don't see a line between free speech and hate speech. There is, I think, hate speech, if you just express hatred of somebody, that's it. There is a line between free speech and incitement. I mean, clear and present danger of violence. And that's the job of the lawyers and the judges to work out that. I mean, that's the philosophical point is clear enough. That is, you have an immediate causal consequence of the speech. It's going to cause violence, death, etc. Then the state has a right to interfere with it. But just because it's offensive or hateful, no, doesn't give you a right to interfere.
Speaking of offensive speech, our president actually tweeted out, I guess not spoke it, but tweeted out that he wants to cut funding, or was exploring that option of cutting funding to the university because of this riot. What is your response to that?
Well, I thought it's too stupid. Even by Donald Trump standards, it's too stupid. But to begin with, it wasn't the university of this guy from speaking. It was some people outside the university. But secondly, he seems to have the idea that there's a sort of faucet of funds. Just turn the faucet off. It's not like that. There are a whole set of contractual obligations that the university has, and these are not in any way affected by these demonstrations. And he can't. The president can't legally turn off those contractual obligations. I mean, to take one example, a large amount of the federal money that comes is for financing students. I mean, the Pell Grants, for example, are federally financed student grants. And it would be ridiculous to think, well, you should deny students the right to an education just because of these demonstrations that occurred.
Are you, speaking of our president, are you at all worried about how free speech is moving forward under his administration? Do you think it's in danger, the First Amendment or anything?
Well, the free speech is always in danger. So the free speech movement did not succeed in getting free speech in Berkeley. We got the the administration and government restrictions removed, but there's still all kinds of restrictions on free speech that are imposed informally by demonstrators and so on, who make violent interruptions of people who are exercising their free speech. This goes on. This is a constant danger. It's nothing new. We always have to think about it. We always have to find ways to protect the free speech rights of people whose views we find disgusting.
Our audience is more geared toward folks in the media. What would you say to them about defending the First Amendment?
Would always be to find out what's going on below the surface. Who are these guys dressed in black? Who sent them here? How are they organized? What's the nature of the organization? How are they trained? That's a question the media ought to be able to answer, because this is good investigative reporting. In an event like this, you cannot tell what's going on just by watching what happens on the surface.
And so, are you proud of, I guess, the peaceful students that were protesting?
Am I proud of what?
The students who were protesting peacefully, not the people who were inciting
No,
the riot.
I think it's not something. The fact that protests ought to be peaceful is not something you deserve special congratulations for. But of course, I think that's the right way to behave. Absolutely, peaceful protesting seems to be perfectly legitimate.
Professor, we really appreciate the time and we appreciate your perspective.
Okay, thanks a lot for calling.
So again, thank you to our guest, Professor John Searle. I thought one of the most interesting answers he had was about free speech and hate speech, how there is no line. No matter if you don't like what the other person is saying, they're still entitled to say it. I just think that, what are people supposed to do then in that situation? I don't advocate, what he was talking about with the people dressed in black, these apparently professional rioters that have been at these protests around the country for, a little while now. I don't agree with that at all. But I don't think the idea of just don't listen to them is good enough for some people. And I think that's why, I think that's why we're always going to see protests to this.
Yeah, I agree with that. And like I said, some people believe that form of protesting is their right to do. That's them exercising their right to free speech to be violent. Well, it isn't when it directly violates other laws, especially local laws and vandalism laws. That kind of stuff doesn't fly. There's ways to do this. We talked about this with Myrna last week. There are ways to do this where you can get your point across, but you don't have to be arrested and stupid and cause and incite violence. There's ways to do this. The most prolific protesters in the history of our country, and John Searle being one of them, they did it peacefully. They did it. They were loud about it, but they weren't violent. And they got their point across. And you can go directly back to where he was in the mid-'60s at Berkeley and trace the modern free speech movement right back to what he was doing. Some people threw rocks, some people got violent, but the majority of the people that protested when he was around, and the majority of the people that protest now, aren't violent. And I think that's always the way to go.
And I thought, he ended it perfectly. He's like, I don't think, people not getting violent is something you have to celebrate. That should just be, something run of the mill. So again, thanks to him. That was a very good conversation, very insightful. I'm sure he's been busy. I'm sure he's been getting a lot of calls. So appreciate him coming on our show. And Nate, I think that about wraps it up for another great week.
It sure does. Yeah, we will have another episode of Working Behind the Screens podcast coming up next week. Make sure to check us out on social media, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. Let us know if you have any guest suggestions or suggestions for topics for upcoming episodes, and we will see you and talk to you next week.